There is only one God. Praise be to Him.
God Almighty states in the Quran in chapter 20 verse 7, يَعْلَمُ السِّرَّ وَأَخْفَى. He knows the secret and that which is more hidden than the secret. In the Bible, in the book of Job, chapter 28, it is stated, He, God, sees everything under the heaven and looks to the end of the earth. What we understand from both the Bible and the Quran is that God doesn't have limitations to His knowledge. He is omniscient. However, what if I said to you that God does have limitations to His knowledge? What if I said to you that God doesn't know everything and He is not omniscient but rather ignorant? And what if I said to you that He doesn't even know the very basics that you and I know? Would you worship this God? I don't think so. However, it is ironic that we find that Christians have adopted a position of Jesus as God. And when we study the life of Jesus in the Bible, we see that Jesus doesn't know many basic things. And by the way, for Jesus to be great as a human being, He doesn't have to know these basic things, for all of us are ignorant of certain basic things. But if He is God, then we would have to ask ourselves the question, why are we worshipping an ignorant God? A God who is not all aware and all knowledgeable cannot be God. So if we consider the Christian belief about Jesus, we look into the Bible, we see in the Gospel of Mark chapter 11 verse 13 that Jesus is returning from a place called Bethany, and from a distance He notices a fig tree, and He rushes to the fig tree being hungry if happily he might find any fruit thereon. But when he reaches the tree, he only finds leaves and no fruit. And Mark then tells us it was not the season of figs. And of course, for a human being like Jesus not to have known the season was understandable, or to have forgotten at the time that it wasn't the season of figs was completely relatable and completely human. However, to suggest that God Almighty is Jesus and that therefore He didn't know what was on the tree is completely and absolutely blasphemous. So this is why the idea that Jesus is God is completely and absolutely flawed. And likewise, we find many verses and many chapters of the Bible that show that the life of Jesus was a demonstration of His humanity. For example, Jesus said in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 13, verse 32, about the day of judgment. He said, about that day and that hour, no one knows, not even the angels, nor the Son, but only the Father. And here Jesus is talking about Judgment Day. And He is clearly saying that He doesn't know when Judgment Day will happen, but only God knows when it will happen. And so the idea that Jesus is God is completely contradicting the very teachings of what Jesus taught and what He said. So, for example, Christians would then say, and we've noticed this is what Christian theologians have now come to the conclusion to say, that Jesus had two natures. This is called the hypostatic union, and what it means is that Jesus had both a human and a divine nature. So in other words, he had all the powers of God, but all the limitations of man at the same time. Now, I hope you don't need to think too much to understand why this is completely impossible, even for God. Even for God. For God cannot be powerless and powerful at the same time. It is impossible even for God to know and be ignorant of something at the same time, because he has one mind, he has one source of knowledge. And therefore, if Jesus was God and man simultaneously, then this doesn't make any sense. This is a sort of way of escaping the idea that he is not God. This is an attempt to explain away the humanity of Jesus, the complete humanity of Jesus, and to say, no, he had both natures. But then, if Jesus had two natures, didn't his nature, how many minds would he have? If he had just one mind and not two minds, then that would mean his godly mind should have guided him that there was no figs on the tree. And his godly mind should have told him, or his divine mind should have told him, that the hour, he knows when the hour is. Because the Trinity tells us that just as the Father is omniscient, so too the Son is omniscient. And so we can see how the concepts, the hypostatic union theory of who Jesus is completely and absolutely flawed and contradicts what Jesus himself taught. So I hope people, really study their religion thoroughly to understand what it is they are actually being told, and to decipher between the truth and the false. Because Allah God Almighty teaches us to understand the truth and to search for the truth. May Allah guide us. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
La